TJ is a place where innovation and discovery thrive. It's a place where students pursue their passion. There's an ongoing, systemic, and increasing funding gap between what the county and state provide this school and what the school needs to provide a TJ quality education. And that gap is about $750,000 to $1 million a year. The Thomas Jefferson Partnership Fund is a 501c3 not-for-profit corporation, and we reach out to parents, to corporations, and to alumni in order to meet this funding gap.
We're studying the effect of American bee paralysis virus and mites on bees, and we're trying to learn a little bit more about the relationship between the two.
We're working with this Step 1 real-time PCR system. We take the RNA that we've isolated from the bees, which contains the virus and contains RNA from the mites, and then we put it in, and it will take the RNA and make cDNA copies of the RNA, and cDNA is essentially just the RNA made into DNA. We'll see how the mites have affected how the viruses sped along in the bee colonies. So basically, if the mites spread the virus, then that will help beekeepers to determine whether they should focus on trying to get rid of the mites or trying to get rid of the virus. This equipment basically made our project possible, because without it, it would have been so many more procedures, and it would have been so much longer and so much more estimation instead of accuracy.
This is a flywheel, and it's part of an air engine that I'm working on. But you start out with a piece like this, and you can see that this has already been cut a little bit. What it does is it uses blades to like make small cuts like this, and it's very specific cuts as well. We've only recently started making the air engines, and as you can see, there are a lot of specific cuts. This requires this machine, so does this part, as well as this small part that you can't really see. It's called a piston. See, these are more basic cuts with the rectangular pieces, and we can use, say, like a saw for that. But using a saw to just cut this would be extremely tedious. The Partnership Fund gave us this extremely nice computer-controlled lathe. And the advantages of this machine as compared to like a hand lathe is that this, if you can make anything in AutoCAD, if you draw it out, this will be able to make it for you. And this is exact every single time.
Our project is the leech project. We're kind of continuing it from previous years in that we're also looking at the electrophysiology of the leech. So right now, specifically, we're looking at the effect of dopamine on the swimming activity in the leech.
Dopamine is one of the major neurotransmitters involved in Parkinson's disease. So we're thinking that because we're altering the levels of dopamine, either using haloperidol, which would decrease the amount of dopamine, or adding dopamine into the system, increasing the dopamine, it'll show us the effects that dopamine have on swimming activity, which can then we can take that into real-world application on humans, the effect that dopamine has on just motion in general. The anti-vibration table really helps minimize noise, because even the slightest touch will show on when we're recording. The recordings will go, you'll see the noise affecting the signals, but with the anti-vibration tables, it absorbs the shock or whatever touch would have disrupted the readings, and it makes the recordings a lot easier to read, so we can actually see that what we're trying to see. We can see the swimming activity, we can see that the firings are happening.
These signals that come from the nerve cord are very, very small. So if we don't amplify it, then we really can't see it at all. So by amplifying it 1,000, 10,000 times, then it can actually show up on the screen.
I'm studying the effect of gender segregation on the behaviors of Hippocampus erectus, also known as the Atlantic line seahorse. They bought us these two FOSCAM remotely operated cameras. We can control them remotely from any computer as long as we use a proxy server through the TJ library system. And we can control the cameras from afar, control recording times, and also review the footage from anywhere in the world practically. We decided to record our data as opposed to sitting in front of the tanks for periods of time, because that makes our ability to review the data much more flexible. Seahorses are listed as a somewhat endangered species at the moment, so by finding ways to raise them in captivity and finding optimal conditions for raising them in captivity, we can ensure that they'll be around for generations to come. We're extremely grateful to the TJ Partnership Fund for buying this equipment and software for us to enable us to complete our project, and I'm just really grateful that this partnership fund exists in order to fund these students' projects. Without them, we would not have the kind of success that we do.
Now we have an incredible opportunity that we're all looking forward to, and that is what we call TJ 2.0, the renovation of the high school. This capital campaign we expect will create the most exciting and innovative learning institution in the United States and perhaps in the world, with the help of our partners.
Thomas Jefferson Partnership Fund is essential to building educational excellence in our school community. If it weren't for the unique contributions from partners, corporate sponsors, parents, every contribution you make is a difference in our children's lives. We are able to achieve the highest level of excellence thanks to the Partnership Fund. Thank you for helping make TJ the best school in our nation.